Hey guys, it's Brigitte with San Diego Seed Company, and today we're going to do a May garden tour here in Southern California, specifically in beautiful sunny San Diego. Now before I get into that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you're notified anytime we put out content and so that I can help you grow the best garden possible in zone 9 and 10. So we are in our videographer's beautiful garden. Man, what a difference between his garden and mine. His is very like, you know, Better Homes and Garden, gorgeous. Mine's very utilitarian, but that's just personalities coming out in the garden. I am going to be a little critical and talk about some of the things that he needs to work on that you might see in your garden. And the first thing I want to note is these sweet peas. They look great, but this is a prime example about why you want to start your sweet pea flowers and really a lot of flower varieties in the fall. So these were started late. When were they started exactly?
Probably February.
Probably February, so way too late. We actually start ours in October. So these were started about halfway through the growing season, and you can tell they've only gotten this tall. Ours at our garden started in October are all the way over our cattle panel. And that's because they had October, November, December, and February to really grow and get nice and big and send a lot of energy in their root systems before they started to flower. So if you're the type of gardener that is looking on Instagram and you see everybody has beautiful sweet peas blooming and you're all excited, it's too late. Those you really got to start in the fall to get the biggest bang for your buck and get really beautiful blooming plants. The other part why you want to start in the fall is if you start too late, as the weather starts to change and we have cold mornings and then hot days and back and forth, you're going to start to see more powdery mildew happening, and as it gets really hot, it's going to be really detrimental to the plants, and so they're going to struggle already, which means they're more susceptible to powdery mildew, downy mildew, and a lot of other issues. So the key here is start your sweet peas in the fall in zone 9 and 10, and you'll get much better, bigger plants and more blooms on your actual sweet peas. So we were talking about sweet peas, the flowers. Now these are sweet peas, the edible pods, which are so delicious. That's my sweet pea dance. These look amazing. They don't look amazing, redo that. Man, your sweet peas are always so good. This plant is really big and there's a lot of sweet peas on it, but I want to point out something, especially if you're a beginner gardener, that you have to take note of. See all this powdery stuff? It literally looks like somebody came out here and put, like, I don't know, flour on the plant. You can actually rub it off. That is powdery mildew. Now, it's very common for plants, especially in zone 9 and 10, to get powdery mildew, but if not managed properly, it's just going to spread to other parts of your garden, and it's typically a sign that the plant, if you have a really good season and you've gotten a lot off the plant, it's a sign that the plant is done. So if we zoom in here, you can see all of this bottom portion is covered in powdery mildew. I mean, it's really bad. And a new gardener might be like, but look at the top, it looks so nice and green and pretty, and we have all of these peas, I want to leave it. Well, the longer you leave it in here, you're basically just growing a host plant for the powdery mildew that then can move to other crops. It can move to other brassicas. It can move to your tomatoes. It really can wreak a lot of havoc. Your squash really is very susceptible to the powdery mildew. And so if we leave this in here too long, it's going to become an issue. So I know I grilled Jeff about it already, and he said he's going to pull these down because some kids are going to come and eat them. But this is a telltale sign that this plant is done. It needs to be pulled out because it's at the end of its season. And another thing to think about too is other plants will tell you when the season is over. And a good example is, so this is sweet peas. They grow in the cool season. And just over here, look, we have beans that are thriving. These beans are telling you that the soil is warm and the daytime temperatures are warmer. And if your beans can thrive, then it's likely about time for your sweet peas to be done. So these are going to get ripped out, and we'll put something else in there because it's no longer a good, happy, healthy plant for the garden. So the other great thing about a May garden is all of the stuff that is blooming. So everything starts to bloom because the hours of sunlight are getting longer. The hours of sunlight is a direct message to the plant to, hey, it's time to bloom. It's time to put out your flowers and then your seeds and then pass on your genetics into the world. We've got beautiful ranunculus. We have calendula, which I have to tell you, I think calendula is one of the easiest and most prolific flowers to grow in zone 9 and 10. Really an amazing plant. So we have all of these beautiful blooms, and the other thing that we're doing right now in a May garden is we are direct sowing a lot of crops. We are direct sowing because the soil is warmer, the daytime temperatures are warmer, and as I mentioned, we have more hours of sunlight. So we've got a bunch of squash and cucumbers that have already popped up here. They look great. This powdery substance around the plant is actually diatomaceous earth. We have several really good videos on that, but that's just to help keep off the creepy crawlies until these plants are big enough to thrive on their own. One thing I want to note in here is I know it's really easy, especially if you're the kind of gardener that loves to go to the nursery and buy a lot of plants. You direct sow your crops, you're all excited, they've popped up, or maybe you've transplanted them out, that's fine. And then you see all this empty room and you go, you know, that doesn't look very nice. I'm gonna plant a bunch of stuff in between these crops. And then what happens? In a couple of weeks, really in a month or two, this bed is so cram-packed that nothing will really thrive. So keep in mind spacing and know that in early spring, it's very common to have some empty pockets in your garden because these squash plants are going to get huge. There's no room here for any other plants. These cucumbers are going to grow up this trellis. This whole bed is going to be totally engulfed in plant matter. And if we get all excited and put more stuff in there, then nothing's really going to thrive. So be patient and know that spacing is critical to happy, healthy plants. So we are in our little tomato patch. We've got tomatillos that look great. We've got some Roma tomatoes, and we have some really rad cages that we have around our determinate tomatoes. If you don't know the difference between determinate and indeterminate, a little cheater trick that I always use is determinate tomatoes are determined to give you all of their tomatoes very close in time, like almost all at once. So a lot of times those are things like sauce tomatoes, Roma tomatoes. Those are ones that will give a lot of tomatoes at once and you have to process them and do something with them. A very nice large size tomato cage is the best option for them. You'll notice we don't use, if you look around, nowhere in this garden is a rinky-dinky little Home Depot tomato cage. There's no place for those in the garden. They never work like they should. Not a fan of them at all. This is a nice sized tomato cage that was actually made with cattle panel. Big fan of them. They also look really cool, which is nice, and relatively inexpensive. You can make them yourself. I believe we have some videos on that specific thing. So this tomato will actually fill up a good portion of this cage, and it's very easy to put your hand in here to harvest whatever you need or do pruning. So again, you'll see we have a lot of empty space here, but this is all going to get filled in with tomato plants. Every inch of this will be filled and we'll have a lot of stuff growing, especially as the temperatures continue to warm and the days get longer. You'll see everything in the garden is going to grow very quickly. Remember that plants get their energy not just from the soil, but they also get it from the sunlight by photosynthesizing. The more hours of sunlight they have, the more plant matter they can grow, and the quicker they can grow, and the more growth you will see in your garden. So you'll see we have tons of flowers that are either blooming or getting ready to bloom. Don't forget to let things like your cilantro go to flower. Pollinators love these, and it's literally no work. You just leave it. So we got lots of stuff blooming because we want tons of bees, because we want lots of pollination to happen for all of our peppers, which look beautiful. We've got our tomatoes on our low and lean, which we're gonna have to really stay on top of that. We've got our basil lined up nice and beautiful, and more peppers. So if your garden looks like this, you should be so proud, because this is a lot of work, but it is a passion. If you are a gardener, you know that you'll be out here breaking your back because you love what you do. And so I'm really excited to show you this garden, and I want to hear what you're growing, what you're excited about this year, and what videos you want to see us shoot so that we can help you grow the best garden yet.